That may look like a lunar landscape, and it also may look like a map that one of the kids have prepared for a geography class. But what we're opening the program with, and what you're looking at right now, is a crepe. And this crepe was browned up, and it gives it so that we can see all the different textures in it. And very simply, we're going to keep it as simple as I can to begin with. A crepe is nothing more than a thin French pancake. Sounds very simple, and we should all be able to do it just by being told that. However, there are a few tricks of the trade, and I'd like to show them to you. The basic difference between a crepe, which is a thin French pancake, and the nice fat kind that we eat, is that the eggs are not as abundant in the French pancake, and also there is an absence of any kind of leavener. There's no baking powder or baking soda in this recipe. So those two things are going to help keep the crepes very, very thin. The other thing that we are going to be talking about today in preparing crepes is that we never, I hope you don't anyway, beat the batter when you're making pancakes, because that'll make them tough. Today's batter, we're going to beat it, and it really won't make a difference, because if the crepe is a little bit tough, that's going to be to our advantage. It can be tough because it's so thin that no matter how tough it gets, it still won't be tough. So what we're going to do is show you our list of ingredients to make the crepes, and you're going to see that the list of ingredients is very, very short and very, very easy, and the method will follow with that. All that we need, and I'm going to be getting a couple things ready while we're showing you that at home, is some flour, salt, lemon rind. Now that's an option. You could make this without the lemon rind and it'll come out just fine. As a matter of fact, depending upon what we're going to do with the crepes, you may want to leave the lemon rind out. It uses milk, sugar, eggs, and butter. Now the first step that we follow is that we melt down some butter, and you can use shortening or oil. So if you don't want to use the butter, you can just omit that and add the oil to that. The second thing is the dry ingredients are sifted into a bowl, and then we add the eggs and milk. After we beat them together, we add that to it, and we just mix the whole batter until it's smooth. So to begin with in the bowl, the first thing that you want to do to save yourself some time is we would start with number 3. We're going to beat the eggs and milk together, and then we're going to add the sifted dry ingredients, beat it together, and we're going to add the shortening oil or butter last. So I want to show you the amounts that I'm using today to make these crepes, and the amounts that I have out in front of me, let me move this over again, is these recipes that most of the ones that I have to work with are worked out by weight. And a good many of the recipes are worked out by, well, you need some of this, some of that, a handful of this, and a pinch of that. And believe it or not, that's how I have gotten recipes, and that's how I follow them. But it seems to me when I'm making a quantity, whether it's because I'm making a quantity, I don't seem to have any problem with that. But I want to show you the sizes of the ingredients that I have so that you can see them at home and you'll know kind of by the ratio. So what I have right here is the amount of flour that I'm going to use, this is the sugar, and this is the salt. And all that goes with 3 eggs. So you see I have flour, which is the biggest amount, and then by volume, if you're looking at it, because most of you won't weigh them out, that's about half as much on the sugar, and the salt is half as much of that. So you start out with a little bit of salt, double that, and that'll give you the sugar. Double that, it'll give you the flour. And these amounts, which would be a handful and a half and a handful and a healthy pinch of salt, would go to 3 eggs. And I'm going to use 1 cup of milk today. So that's how they look. So why didn't I give you measurements? Because while I looked through the recipes today, I found several crepe recipes. Some of them are a lot more complicated than this. And one of the recipes, another one, is a little bit different than this one, and it works very well also. So I thought I'd show you the easiest one to remember so that if you want to try them, it's very easy. Just a handful of this, half a handful of that, and a big pinch, and you're all set. So the first thing we're going to do is beat the eggs up. So we beat them up real nice. This is the only step you really got to follow. The rest of it, don't worry about it. You can just dump them in any order after you have this beaten up. Once that's beaten up, we're all set. So now we just add our milk to that, Give that a stir. I'm going to throw in some of the oil. Now when you're making crepes, if they start to where you make 3 and they still stick to the pan, add a little more oil to the recipe. Just add it right to the batter and beat it up, and you'll find that that's going to stop them from sticking. All right, now we have that. I'm going to add the dry ingredients. So there goes the salt. Here goes the sugar. And there goes the flour. Don't worry about the lumps, because if there are a few lumps in here, you just make this ahead of time and you don't have to worry about the lumps. If you need this right away, what you can do, if you don't have a wire whisk, is you can strain this off and that'll give you the smooth batter. But most of the time, any of the little lumps that are in there, when it cooks, they will cook out. So now that I have the batter put together, I'm going to put a pan on and I want to show you a couple of crepe pans. Now, we were discussing these in class today, and someone asked me, gee, I want to buy a crepe maker. And that must be like a waffle iron, a special machine made just for making crepes. However, that's a lot of money. And I said, how often are you going to make crepes? Well, I don't know. I just like them and I want to try making them. I suggest before you spend a lot of money, try using a pan that you already have. Let's go the inexpensive route, and then we'll go from there. If you like the crepes and find that they're going to give you the variety that you want and give you you'll be able to add all these different things to the regular menu and to the way you cook just because you know how to make crepes, that would be the way for you to go. I have here some batter that was made maybe an hour earlier, and there's almost no difference in them already, except that this one, when I mix it around, it'll have that foam still on top. When I mix it around, there are no lumps in it at all, and it is very, very smooth. So the batter, I'll put one into the other, you'll see it. The batter may have a lump or two in it, but it's going to be very, very smooth, and it's nothing to worry about. So we have our 2 kinds of pancake batter. I'm going to work with this one because I have the ladle already in it. A very small pan. Most of the time, we are used to seeing, or we see a crepe that's been rolled up, we think, my God, the pan must be enormous. A small pan like this will make a nice sized crepe, and it's very good to learn on. These are aluminum pans. My favorite kind of crepe pan is called an olive pan because that is a steel pan. They take a little more care, but once you have them right, the crepes just fly right out of the pans and it's really nice. But most of us have aluminum pans. This is what they look like when you start. The pan will be nice and bright, shiny aluminum, and we're really proud of it. Then when we begin to make our crepes, the pan will look like this. So let me show you the difference in the two of them. Show this to my mother, she'd have heart failure. My God, he's not scrubbing his pots and pans. This is a coating of oil, and that's what we want. We want that coating of oil because now the aluminum pan is less likely to stick. So this pan's nice and hot. I'm starting to cook off that nice little layer of oil that I have on there. And I'm going to just remove that from the heat, put a little pan spray in there, roll that around. Now if the pan spray is bubbling around like that, it's nice and hot. I'm going to lower that because you don't need a real hot fire for crepes. Once the pan is hot and heated up, then we can just take that, and I'm going to use a 1 ounce measurement, and we just pour the crepe mix into the center of the pan. I don't even have to rush. You don't have to panic or anything. And then I'm going to just roll this around. Nice and slow, just roll that around. What I want to do is get just enough crepe mix on the bottom of the pan. That's first. Now I have the size of my crepe. The next thing is I want to get it as even as I can, and I want to smooth out that crepe mix. So there it is. Now it's cooking because the fire is nice and low, and we're in good shape. Now as I look at it, if this was a pan that I'm used to, we could just take them, bang the pan once, and then flip it, and the crepe flies out. Well, that's a fairy tale for you at home because you may try it with your pan and the crepe is still in there. What I want you to do is once you see the edge brown on that crepe, just take a spatula or a paring knife, just go around, make sure it's all loose and that you can lift up half of the crepe. And then, they're going to show this on camera 1. They don't know it yet, but I just told them. Then you take the pan and your hand and turn it upside down, and you just peel that crepe off and then turn the crepe over and finish cooking it in there. Now this side of the crepe has been in the pan. It's very hot. The other side isn't so hot, so it won't burn you. It'll be warm, but it won't burn you. We're going to do that again. That's done already. So there's that crepe. That one's done. So now the pan's going along. I'm going to give it another shot of pan spray. And you're probably thinking, that's right, you're on TV, you don't want it to stick. So I don't want it to stick. You don't want it to stick at home either, so try the pan spray. Once you get it rolling at about the 5th or 6th one, you won't have to spray the pan. Again, we just put that batter in the bottom of the pan and we roll that around. Now we have the size of the crepe that we want. I'm going to get them as perfect as you can. And fill those holes in as you come around the second time. Just roll that around. You can see now that as I roll it, the batter is cooking to the batter and it's going to just all stick together. Then we're going to take that and it's loose. Now, many times when I'm on the program here, I don't adjust the heat. If I want to adjust this, I'll just take it off the fire like that. So that's all you do. If it gets too hot, just take it off. If you have to keep pulling it off after every crepe, then lower the fire. But try a couple of them without it. Now it's ready, and then we go back to camera 1 and I turn that right upside down and I catch it just like that, and then it goes right back. And that's all there is to it. Now if you're going to roll the crepes around, you're going to roll them afterwards, and we're going to show you some of them rolled. I'm going to show you why we don't cook them all the way. We want that crepe to have almost no color. So this very light color is not going to upset me too much because I know the other side, right there, is nice and soft, so I'm all set. So once you have the basic idea of how to make the crepes, make a bunch of them, because by the time you get the batter, this makes 15 to 20 of them. You want to You're not going to use 15 or 20 right away, but these are very nice and very, very handy to have. What you want to do is make a batch of them and layer them with wax paper, and then you can freeze them. Once you have a stack of them layered in wax paper, wrap them in saran in the amount that you're going to use at a time, and then pop them in the freezer. And then you're all set for later on. Because in the second half of the show, we're going to show you all different things you can do with a crepe. They go from an appetizer to the main dish to a nice light lunch down to a dessert. And some of the desserts are really nice to have. So once again, very easy to do. We just turn it upside down and send it over. So while I'm making up a nice batch of crepes for us to show you what to do with them for the second half of the program, we would like you to watch this.
I'm driving. Don't drive drunk. No, 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 don't drive drunk. No, 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 don't drive drunk. Woo! That's against strong drivers a man.
Oh, Mark, let me drive.
Hey, please.
Mark, last time, give me the keys.
No way!
What kind of friend are you, man? Look, give him the keys.
I want to register with Selective Service. Yeah. Fill out the card.
Welcome back. What we're going to make, and I was just going over some of the different things that we're going to put into these crepes. We're going to make something else that we have made before in a program that is very basic and very easy, and that's going to be a supreme sauce. Now I have some leftover turkey out here on the table, and I've got a pepper and an onion, some mushrooms, and I like to put those kind of things into a crepe. However, they won't all by themselves cooked or cut up. They just don't have anything to hold them together. So what I want to make today is going to be a base to hold that. So in the pot right now we have a little bit of butter, and as I said, once you get a nice heavy pot that you work well with, you can gauge the amounts that you're going to be using. So I put some of that butter in there, and I put some flour in it, And we make ourselves a roux here, and I'm going to turn that fire up just a little bit to work on that. And that's going to melt, and then I'm going to add to that some stock. There we are. Now that is our flour and butter, and that's going to be the thickener that I'm going to use in this little bit of stock. And once we do that, we have a sauce. I have here some stock left over from when I did the turkey, and we boiled the turkey. So I got some byproduct there, and we're going to add that to it. It's got a little bit of fat floating on top. That's all right. Put that right in there. I can do this without it lumping up because the stock is cold and that roux didn't get a chance to really get hot. And I don't want any color on it, so I didn't want to cook it too much. As a matter of fact, I want this base to be very light. So I have that, and I'm just going to stir that, and we'll throw a little more to it. Stir that around. I'm going to let that come up to the boil. So I want to have some things ready that I can put into the crepe. So like I said, I have an onion, and I have a little bit of the pepper here. So we're going to get those things ready. Now, I'm going to roll this crepe, so the crepe's going to be long and thin. So I'm going to cut these long and very thin. So I have some of that. Get that out of the way. I have some onion. Now I want to show you a very easy way to make some onion very small. Pepper we're used to getting in nice long pieces. You better stir while I'm doing this. We take that onion and we're going to cut opposite that root button, and I'm going to cut that nice and thin. Not quite all the way through. Now, it'll still hold together, and I'm all set. Anytime I need minced onion or I want it real small, I go real small the other way. And there you have it. There's nothing to it. So there's the onion, and that still holds together, and I'm all set for later on. Now I'm going to make some turkey. I have 2 little pieces of turkey. I could put these right on one sandwich, and that's the end of it for me. However, if you're not alone, and we're going to want to make this go a little bit further, so we're going to take a turkey for 1 here, and it's going to become turkey for 2. Take that. Stir my sauce. It's beginning to thicken up. I have that ready. I'm going to add a little more stock to this. Nice and light. It's not going to hide any of the colors. And the flavor of this should be nice and light. It is. It's real light. Some pepper, some salt. Now I want to put a little flash of color in here. So I reach back, and I'm going to use some pimento. Now I'm going to take just a piece of that off, put the rest back in the juice in the jar, and I'm going to take that. I cut that all one way. Since this is a contrasting color, it's also going to be cut in a contrasting shape and size. Go all one way and then all the other way. There's my nice light sauce. So what I'm going to do is take some of this sauce, and I'm going to reserve some of it because it's not all going to be used just for the turkey. So I have that. And then everything on the board goes in. Get rid of the whip. The pimento goes in there. Those green peppers, the rest of the onion. There goes those slices of cooked turkey. Clean the board up. I'm all set. That all goes in. Stir that around. And all I want to do with this, because I want these vegetables to have some texture to them, and since they were cut very thin, I just want to stir that around till we get that to come to the boil. There it goes. That's good enough for me. So now I have a filling for the crepe, but I have a lot of other crepes and a lot of other things that I want to do with them. I have some of the sauce left over on the side here. I still have some butter, so I'm going to take a little bit of the butter, and that's going into the pan. And I have some mushrooms over here. Still a good buy. Mushrooms, the price of them is still very low, so it's something fancy and inexpensive. You don't hear those two things put together too often. I'm going to cut these thin. And I'm cutting them this way so that we can see the whole shape of the mushroom in some of the slices. Watching the butter. It's going to foam up, and that's when the mushrooms go in. When you're using fresh mushrooms, remember that when you cook them, they're going to fall. So I may have a nice high pile of mushrooms. They're going to shrink way down when they cook. So don't be afraid of using a lot of them. Or if you buy a pound of them and it seems like an awful lot of mushrooms, go right ahead, because when they cook, they're going to shrink down. So there we have that. The butter's foaming up. You can see that and you can hear it. Get that so it'll stay still. And then in goes the mushrooms. So we have the mushrooms. Now I've got some sauteed mushrooms. Let them cook away. They smell good. Now I have some broccoli that I had left over. Kids didn't eat that. What am I going to do with that? So I'm going to take some of the, let's see how I'm going to do this. Let's take some of this over here. Okay, I've got my mushrooms going away there. Shut that down. I'm going to take some of the sauce and add it to the mushroom. Just enough to give this mushroom a base. Now, once I have that, I'm all set. Now I've got the mushrooms and they'll stay together. They're all in one piece, and that's what we want, because we want to make a filling out of the mushroom. So there's the mushroom, and I have some of the broccoli. That goes into the rest of that sauce. Now we have some broccoli mixed up, and instead of just loose pieces of broccoli, I'm all set with that. So now I'm going to move some of these items out of the way. I've got some dessert items here now. I have some blueberry filling, not quite enough to make a pie. I don't feel like messing around with tarts today. I had some raisin filling left over from a raisin crisp, made the same as you make your cherry filling. And I've got some sour cream left from baked potatoes. So I have all these little bits of things that are left over which aren't quite enough to make a meal all by themselves. A little bit of turkey, enough for one sandwich, right? So now I have a little stack of plates. And we're going to be able to take all of these items and make different types of food from them. We're going to make some can be used for anything that I show you that is used as an entree or a main course. Cut the size down, make it very small, and you can use it as an appetizer. So all the action is going to be on the board right here, and I'm going to show you what we do. Crepes as a classical dessert, crepe Suzette, which is probably the most talked about one that we know of. We know, we've heard of it, but we don't know what it is. They take the crepe and they fold it after they add a lot of orange and lemon rind and liquor to it and flame it, and then it's folded in four like this, and you're served 3 triangles of a crepe. Not much of a dessert where I come from. I'd rather have a nice sized dessert. So this is the kind of dessert I would rather have. Take the crepe, and you get another spoon here, and we're all set. And I take some blueberry, and I'm only going to put, this is a regular tablespoon that we would use on service. That's all you need in a crepe. Take that, do both of them. These are the more popular ones. One of the tricks with these is not to put too much filling in them. Most of us put too much filling in and they're a mess. So we want to roll that, put the seam down, and everybody says, oh, look how perfect. And all it is we're showing them the best side. Then we take that other one and do the same thing. I roll it about halfway, squeeze the filling out. We don't want it to come out all the way out the end because that's going to be your first cut. So now you have blueberries, and they're very, very sweet. So what you want to put with those is some sour cream. And then we want to show what's inside the crepe. So we want to know what's in there. We put just a dot of the blueberry on top. So now we have a dessert crepe. You're on a light lunch, so what you'll do is take a crepe and some of the mushrooms, lay them all the same way. Let's take that big one out. I'll show you what we'll do with that. And we just roll that crepe. And then we're going to take some of the sauce from the side, and we just put a little bit of that, just a small puddle on that. And we take our fresh mushroom and we lay that lengthwise on the crepe, and that shows us what kind of crepe that one is. And we take the broccoli, and this is a nice vegetable. Nice way to use this as a vegetable. Just take it and roll it in a crepe. A little bit of cream sauce, put that in a crepe, and you're all set to go. And a little bit of the broccoli over the center of that. We know which one that is. You want to make a nice hearty meal out of a crepe. Let's move this over here. Take 2 crepes for an order, or possibly even 3, depending upon your appetite. And we're going to take some of that turkey. Now, all we did was a basic sauce, and a little bit of a la king is what we've made. And we just roll that one. Only half, because that one is a lot fuller. All right, so when we want to make a crepe real full, we don't use the 3-fold, we just roll it over itself. Put a nice spoonful of that in there once, and then we fold it a second time. Now you look at that and say, gee, that's not too much in there. So what we do is we go into the pot now, and we spoon some of that over it. And what we did was we took what might be a regular luncheon portion, and we just kind of put the filling of another crepe on there without the extra crepe, and we're all set. So the last one I have is some raisin, and that we just do the same as the blueberry. We'll take a little bit of that raisin, and it's a good way to enjoy raisins if you're not crazy about the taste of them. If you like mincemeat and only get to have that once a year around Thanksgiving because you don't make your own, this raisin filling is very similar to the taste of mincemeat, and it brings back all the memories of enjoying the mincemeat, and that is also good with a little bit of the sour cream over the middle. So we take that, and by taking all of these little bits of leftovers, not enough for 2 people to make a sandwich, we have shown you that with a little bit of ingenuity and our basic crepe recipe, you can make all different types of items, all the way up to a dessert, an entree, and an appetizer. And they're all leftovers, and you're the only one who will know. Thank you for watching.